I hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2144. The spark that comes from showing up. Yes, it is Saturday today. This is a standalone reflection podcast tonight, and we're going to talk about the spark that comes from showing up. Whew. That is just an awesome idea. I love that. You know, I'm all about the sparkles. If you've been following me for a while, you know it's all about the sparkles. You could be doing whatever you want, but as long as there's sparkles, we're good. So let's see. You don't always need a plan. Sometimes you just need to show up. Heart open, eyes curious, ready to receive. Because presence has power, and sometimes that's all it takes to spark a shift. Why showing up feels risky? We think we need to have it all figured out beforehand, but we don't. Fear of wasting time or being out of place, vulnerability in being seen before we feel ready, the myth that big changes only come from big plans. Yes. What happens when you show up anyway? You connect with people you weren't meant to miss. The energy shifts, and so does your mindset. You say yes to what's unfolding, not just to what was scheduled. Serendipity makes itself at home. Oh, I love showing up. And I will tell you this one for me, what happens when you show up anyway? There are days that I feel like I don't want to be there. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've got a headache. I'm just not feeling it. I'm just feeling off. It may not be something that's physically wrong. It could just be the mental attitude of like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I just don't want to be there. And then you show up. And those are the times when that spark fires up. That spark lights a fire. It does. Because the times that you don't feel like showing up is the absolute wrong time for you to listen to those feelings of, I don't need to be there. I don't want to show up. I'm too exhausted. I'm too tired. And you show up anyway. And when you show up anyway, and magic happens. The spark ignites a fire. And I have done this time and time and time again. And there's even been times when I was living in San Diego and I had to drive up to Los Angeles for our mastermind group. And it meant and this was be on a Friday night, I'd be playing these mental games with me because Saturday I had to be up early. I had to be on the road before 6:15. And even though we didn't start till 9:00. And if I was on the road before 6:15, I would arrive just before 8:00 I'd arrive between 7:30 and 7:45 at the place where we were having our mastermind, even though it didn't start till 9:00. If I left after 6:15, I barely made it in time for the 9:00 start. There was such a big difference in that. And the night before, I was like, oh, I really don't feel like going up tomorrow. It's sort of like, just go to bed, have a good night's sleep, wake up as normal, just get ready and, see how you feel in the morning. And we're just going to get ready and we're just going to go. And there's been times that I have, this has been some mental game that's going on in my head. I don't know what was going on at the time, but I would get in the car and I would start driving up there. And there was sort of like, oh, I really don't want to go to this. It's sort of like, nope, you're on the road now, we're going. And it's sort of like, well, we're coming up to this exit. So I could just take the exit, go across the bridge, come back on the other side and head back home. It's sort of like, oh, do you really want to do that? And I would be 2 lanes over. So I mean, I had to go over. And every time, and I will tell you this, every time I thought about, I'm going to get off at the next exit, there would be a car in the lane next to me. There'd be a couple of cars in the lane next to me where I could not move over to exit. Every time I thought, next exit, there'd be a couple of cars would appear next to me, preventing me from exiting at the exit. And I was like, damn it. And I would find myself in LA and I would be at the place and I would find myself arriving at the place. And I get to a point, it's like, well, I'm here now. I may as well keep going. I was beyond the halfway mark. And once I was beyond the halfway mark, it's like, I'm just going to have to keep going. I might as well show up because I'm already there. I'm almost there. And so then I would go and it would be the most life-changing, mindset-changing day that I would have at the mastermind group. I would get there, be greeted by everybody. My vibrations would lift up. because I was surrounded by people of like-mindedness. Is that the word? Like-mindedness? If it's not a word, it is now. I would be there, and I would be greeted by my friends there, my fellow masterminders, and we would just have an incredible day of sharing and learning and stretching and growing. And on the way home that evening, I would be like, what the hell was up with me this morning? That was the best mastermind session I'd been. And every time this happened, it was the best mastermind session I'd been to. And on the way home, my brain would start churning and going and everything else. And I would have to have my phone would be sitting in the phone holder, and I would have it on record before I left LA. I would have it on record so I could throw out ideas with it. And if I didn't have that with me, if I didn't have that set up, I had my little handy dandy recorder there that I could just flick on and just talk into it on the way home, and just basically do a verbal diarrhea onto the digital recorder. It was phenomenal. And then I could get home and transcribe it and start taking notes and going through my notes and adding stuff to it for ideas that have popped up on the drive home. And it was an incredible day. And this is what happens when you don't feel like showing up. If you don't feel like showing up, that spark is there. And that little spark, that little tiny spark will keep you going. And when you show up, you may connect with, and and I have found was just not for mastermind. It was any event that I really didn't feel like going to, whether it was networking, whether it was a training class, a workshop, a conference, whatever. If I woke up that morning and said, I really don't want to do this, but I would say, like, let's go and get dressed and see how we go, and have a shower and see how we feel. Okay, yeah, let's put some clothes on and see how we feel. Let's have some breakfast and see how we feel. Although when I would drive up for my mastermind, I would always stop and get breakfast on the way. Yeah, and that time that it would take me from if I left before 6:15 and I would get there between 7:30 and 7:43, I would always stop and get breakfast, and that included me stopping and getting breakfast on the way. So it was just that difference in how much and leaving as to how much time it would take me to get to where I had to go. And I had to go over into the valley in Los Angeles, into the San Fernando Valley, and that's how long it would take me, an hour and a half every time. But if I left after 6:15, I would barely make it there by 9 o'clock. So it would take me, what was that? Almost 3 hours to get there. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? It was just wild how that worked. But like we said, when you show up, what happens when you show up anyway? You connect with people you weren't meant to miss. The energy shifts, and so does your mindset. When you get there and you start interacting with people, your vibrations you raise your vibrations, and you're there to say yes to what's unfolding, not just what was scheduled. Serendipity makes itself at home. I love that. Yes. Living a show up life. And this is really, really cool. When you live a show up life, you say yes to invitations that feel aligned, even if unexpected. Allow spontaneity to crack open clarity. Oh, I love it when that happens. It'll be that spark that suddenly just goes like a flash. That's your spontaneity. When that spark turns into a flash and cracks open that car, and then you suddenly have that light bulb moment. The light bulb has flashed and you've had that moment. Oh, that's what happens when you show up. It is amazing. And when you live a show up life, when you sort of like decide to do something spontaneous and not planned, you can crack open clarity. Trust that action invites answers. The act of you showing up invites answers to some issue that you may be having. Give yourself permission to participate without performance. You don't have to be on a stage. You just have to be your authentic self. Give yourself permission to participate as your authentic self without a performance. There are times that you've kind of got to put on a little bit of a performance when you go to a place. You stand up, you pull your shoulders back, take a deep breath, the smile's on your face, your whole face looks very relaxed and open, and it kind of feels like and sometimes it feels like you're putting a performance on. So there are times that you can just show up and participate, but you don't have to feel like you are on. And there are people out there who know exactly what on means. It means that you are showing up and participating, but you're not turned on. So you're not doing a performance as such, like stepping, when I have done any speaking engagements or anything, my voice changes. I actually have a speaking voice and it changes. It automatically does it. I can't turn it on or off. As soon as I get a microphone in my hand, that voice changes. You guys just get myself, my authentic self every time. I am not putting a performance on. I am just here and I am ready. Yeah. Sometimes I do have to put a performance on for my podcast when I'm sort of like, I really don't want to do my podcast. And it's sort of like, you can't break your track now. You're almost at that mark. Like for me, I'm almost at the end of 6 years of doing a podcast every day for 6 years. We're at 2,144, heading for 2,191. And when we get to 2,191, we are celebrating 6 years, the completion of 6 years of Facebook Lives every day. Continuous Facebook Lives, daily Facebook Lives. So, and there's times I'm sort of like, I really don't feel like getting on the podcast tonight. You got to show up. And sometimes I will show up and I will not be my usual bubbly self because I just can't get up. I'm showing up because I have to show up. And on those days, most of the time I'm showing up because I want to show up. In fact, my mentor, Casey, he said to me, he says, well, when you get to year 7, do you want to keep doing these daily? He says, how do you feel about doing them daily? I says, I actually feel really good about doing them daily. I says, I don't mind. I said, it's part of my life is getting on and doing a podcast every day at the same time, every day. I said, it's just part of me. I said, yes, there are days that will come along. It's sort of like, I really don't want to do a podcast tonight. I said, but I got a track record going. I got to keep that track record going. It's now a mission to get that done. I said, even on the days I don't feel like getting online and doing a podcast, I still show up anyway. And it's just that little voice that comes in the back of the head here that just turns around and says, one more show. Let's get this one more show done and then we'll make a decision tomorrow. And we get that one more show done. And the next day I just get on as normal. It's not a problem. He goes, how do you feel about coming up with ideas? I says, they just come to me. They come to me. I said, I will actually I now sit down with ChatGPT and we brainstorm ideas. And you're probably thinking, oh, you just type in, I'll do this, da, 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 da. No, we actually have an exchange. I actually have a conversation with ChatGPT on this is what I want to do. What's the best way that we can talk about this topic? Like our 7 weeks that we have done so far of themed podcasts that came through a brainstorming session. Next week, on Monday, we're going to start Awakenings as week 8. And then the cool part is that if you go to my YouTube channel, each week has its own playlist. Each week has its own playlist. And those are going to correspond with the volumes of the Porchlight Reflection Journal that we are working on right now. We've got 7 Porchlight Reflection Journals that are almost ready to drop onto Amazon. And they're going to be up, volumes 1, they'll have on where it says not for sale, not for resale, because this is the author's copy. Across here, it will have volume 1, what's volume 1? Stories We Carry, volume 2, Becoming, volume 3, Rhythm, volume 4, Permission, volume 5, Sacrifice, volume 6, Surrender, volume 7, Redirecting. And on the thought on reflection things, these questions up here will be the questions that we ask on every podcast. And then we're going to add a few more because we want to keep it at 21 thought on reflection pages. So we're going to make sure there's 21 questions in there. And sometimes ChatGPT comes up with some really weird questions. I'm sort of like, yeah, no, definitely not that one. We're not asking that one. Let's change it to read da, 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 da. So there's been a lot of going backwards and forwards on this one. So every reflection question that has been asked during the week on the podcast will be here on a Thoughts of Reflection page. And when we don't have enough for 21, we're adding some more in there. So I'm just in the stage now, the front cover. So this has been completed for all 7 journals. I just have to go through and do the backs. And the backs are basically going to say kind of the same thing, but will be slightly adjusted for what that volume is about. And then there'll be a QR code in there. There'll be 2 QR codes. One will join the newsletter that we have that comes out every Monday morning. And the second QR code in there will take you to the playlist for that week. And you'll just see all the videos there for that week. on the playlist that relates to the topic of the month. So that's why on our YouTube channel, we have the playlist that says Volume 1, Stories We Carry, Volume 2, Becoming, Volume 3, Rhythm, and we have those different playlists, and the podcasts have been moved into those playlists as well as being on the Porch Light podcast playlist. So that's coming. How the heck did I get on that one? I don't know. Okay, so that's when we give ourselves permission. We give yourself permission to participate without performance. You don't have to sit there. You can sit there very quietly and just say nothing, and that's okay. You're participating, and you're not having to put a performance on. In your legacy connection, when we show up imperfect, unsure, but present, we give others permission to do the same. We pass down a legacy of engagement, of being in the moment rather than perfecting it. Your presence is powerful, and it teaches that being fully here matters. Kind of gives me goosebumps. Knowing that, so when all you need to do is show up. Other people will you'll pick up on other people's vibes, and because you are in a room with people who you care about, you love, you are grateful to have in your life, all of those feelings will start coming in and start raising your vibration, and that's when the magic happens. So your reflection questions for this evening are: when was the last time something beautiful happened just because you showed up? When was the last time something beautiful happened just because I showed up? What opportunities might I be missing when I wait to feel ready? And I will tell you this, when you're getting ready to get ready, it won't happen. Just do it. There are times in our lives when there is stuff that comes across our path because we have shown up, and you go, oh, that's a really great idea, but I can't do that yet because I'm getting ready over here to do this. If you're getting ready to get ready over here, it's not going to happen. Seize the opportunity. Seize the opportunity. My friend Casey, his favorite quote is, opportunities multiply as they are seized. And that's a Sun Tzu quote. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. If you're over here getting ready to get ready, you're going to miss all those opportunities that are going by. Be present. Take notice of what's going on. Even if you're getting ready to get ready over here and there's a great opportunity that comes up, stop, seize it, go for it. Just do it. Love that quote. Just do it. And how can I shift from performance to presence? So your 3 questions again. When was the last time something beautiful happened just because I showed up? What opportunities might I be missing while I wait to feel ready? How can I shift from performance to presence? Going back to the second question, what opportunities might I be missing while I wait to feel ready? If you're waiting to feel ready and you're not being present and you're not at the event because you decided to give in and not go when you should be there, how are you going to know what opportunities you've missed if you weren't there to see them or to hear them or to think about them or to have an opportunity given to you? If you're not there, how are you going to know what you missed? And sometimes it could have been that golden key that you needed to unlock the door to help you skyrocket. And that little spark could be at the bottom of that skyrocket, waiting to light it and shoot it off. But because you gave in and decided not to go, that skyrocket's not going to go off. So just think about things like that. Could you have missed the golden opportunity? Yes, think about that. And in closing tonight, some sparks don't wait for plans. They just need you to be there. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konara.